Monday, everybody, and welcome back to the Couchside Judges. I'm Scott Fontana. Follow me on Twitter at Scott_Fontana.
And I'm Dan Urban. Follow me at the Dan Urban. Follow the podcast at Couchside Judges. And subscribe to us wherever you listen.
And if you like this show as much as I do, you should give it what I would give it, a 5-star review.
And as always, we talk judging in MMA, so head on over to abcboxing.com and read the scoring criteria.
Dan, this was a pretty jam-packed pay-per-view. A lot of people were looking forward to this one and like calling it like the event of the year. I never felt like it was.
I was very much looking forward to this.
I was looking forward to it, but I never felt like I didn't buy into the whole like, oh, this is the event of the, and I don't know why. Because I loved the top 6 fights. And then after that, it was like, yeah, it was fine. But like, I don't know. I guess I didn't buy into it to the same degree everybody else did. And I'm glad, because I think for a lot of people, this didn't necessarily live up to it, even though I thought it ended pretty strongly.
For an event that I was so excited for, looking forward to for a long time, I almost boycotted it. And
yes,
watch
that's
it
right. Yes. You had difficulties trying to get the service you paid for from ESPN.
Yes, this show may have been just one Couchside judge given his scores, because I was refusing to watch it if I couldn't get it squared away.
And as I said, I would not have appreciated
that, that would have been on ESPN.
Well, then I would have to deal with it, and I wouldn't have been happy, sir. But we have persevered.
We persevered. I only missed 4 rounds, technically.
Mm-hmm.
But that's quite a bit.
Yeah.
So.
And unfortunately, one of them was Chukagi and Furor, right?
Yeah, I missed Chukagi and Furor.
I'm sorry you missed that one.
I know, I missed 5 rounds, because I missed the first 2 rounds of Beneil and Matouche.
I'm sorry you had to miss Furor and Chukagi, and that was the fight of the night.
Yeah.
Why are you laughing?
I ended up
Why are you laughing?
I still watched it.
Oh, okay. So at least you saw the fight of the night. That's
I
good.
did,
That's
yeah.
good. Glad you saw that one. But let's get to some real brass tacks here, right? Islam Makhachev, man of the hour, champion. Was really cool, by the way, seeing the reaction from Khabib. I mean, this isn't a unique thought. Everybody's saying that, but like, man, he just. I think they're a fascinating story. Like that whole crew, Abdul Manap and all the proteges from them. I think they're just probably one of the most fascinating stories in mixed martial arts in the last 15 years. Just because it's like it's just this group of people from this little enclave. I don't. It's probably dismissive way of classifying Dagestan, but like they all come from just this little area of the world, and now they have 2 champions at the same weight class who look like. Especially Islam, he looks like he's in for a dominant reign. That's what I'm thinking. He's just
the 30 for 30 on Dagestan MMA. It's going to be excellent.
That would be fascinating.
So,
yeah, a lot of people look at like when they say, "Oh, I can't wait for the 30 for 30." It's always about these like grimy, awful like downfall tales, like John Jones, right? Which would also be fascinating, no doubt. But I think this too would be fascinating, and not all of them are like that. And when you watch all those 30 for 30s, and I love those. There's some good ones that are not just like, oh, this is how everything went to hell for this guy. I think that this group of people would be fascinating to kind of see more about. Father's. They would call it Father's Plan, by the way.
Okay,
that's what it has to be called.
Yeah,
so it has to be called.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess kind of on that note of the fact that I think he looks like a dominant champion in waiting. Well, not in waiting, he's the champion, but it looks like he could potentially be in for a lengthy dominant reign. Do you agree?
I think we're in for a hell of a run. Finally, someone I think will undoubtedly surpass BJ Penn's run in years to come.
Wow, that's bold from you.
When we talk about this in years to come, we'll go, what were the best title runs at 155? It'll be number 1, Islam Makhachev, solidified. Then BJ Penn, Khabib, Charles Oliveira. I'm going to
push back against that, actually, because I think Charles Oliveira had just a legendary run, right?
It's a good run, yeah. Great run.
Even just talk about his title fights there. I think his title fight run is more impressive than Khabib's.
Okay,
I actually say that. Like, if we're honing in on just the title fights,
yeah, you can swap Charles and Khabib there.
I would put him even higher. I think I might even put Charles's run number 1.
Yeah, I can't do that.
Sorry, that's where I'm at. I think BJ has the overall much better body of work, and I don't even think that's like controversial. It's kind of obvious. He just does. But specifically the 155-pound title runs, isolated to those, and include the, when they win the title too, right? If you isolate it to that, I think, yes, I put Charles Oliveira number 1.
Okay.
Because what he has done was just incredible. Especially the way he was winning too. He was winning with finishes every time against truly top level talent. The first one was Michael Chandler. I would probably say he was easily number 3 of these guys, right? But then he distinctly beats up on Dustin Poirier, who everyone really thought was like the number 1 guy, and we proved that wrong, right? Or he proved that wrong. And then Justin Gaethje. I mean, that was the other guy. Like, these were the 2 guys where we're like, oh, these are definitely the guys who, like, he has to beat to be number 1. And he went out there and he went out and beat them.
He beat them.
Absolutely beat them. And there no questions asked. So I thought that was impressive. But no, I mean, to your point, to get back to the original point, yeah, I think he really has it in him to be able to put up an even more impressive run.
Here's what I think is impressive. He's fighting Volkanovski next. It's a very interesting
It sure
fight.
Looks that way, yeah.
And you know what? It somewhat finally feels like we're getting a special fight here that we've always been asking for. We're getting the 2 absolute best fighters squaring off in their primes, which almost never happens. I can't recall a fight where that did happen.
Makhachev's only 31 too. He's not even that old.
He's got time. Yeah, I mean, hopefully he sticks around. He doesn't take the Khabib route. He wants to retire early. I know why he wanted to retire now. Because he had these guys down the pipeline that are coming up that he wants to, mentor.
I think there's a lot of people who just think he didn't necessarily love it. And I think he's even alluded to that, Khabib. So I'm not surprised that he seems to be much more interested in investing in other people's success than even his own.
Yeah.
It's just admirable in some ways. It's a fascinating thing. This is another reason why I want to see that explored, right? It's like, why? You're absolutely like... Yeah. He's got to be better than Islam. I feel like he's got to be better than Islam. But he doesn't care.
Yeah.
He doesn't care. He's like, I did it. I'm done. I'm moving on. But nonetheless, we have Islam, who I think is just as good, if not potentially better. He's got the potential to be better, at least. I don't think
he gets better and better every time he comes
out. Yeah. I mean, the whole argument against him getting here was like, oh, who'd he beat? Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He went out there and he beat the brakes off. I mean, that's probably an over extension of what he did to Charles Oliveira, but he was the better man in there for most of that fight, if not all of it.
For sure.
And he this was somebody we've seen Charles Oliveira show so much heart these last few fights. Everyone was questioning whether, he's a quitter. We know he's not a quitter anymore. Stop it. That's gone. The fact that he was able to do what he did to Charles Oliveira here, who was fighting up until the point where he got his bell rung, and then he couldn't fight off that choke because he went from high level black belt to, not quite a white belt, but let's say a blue belt pretty darn quick.
Yeah, that tends to happen.
It's just the way it goes. Yeah.
Islam joined some elite company. People who were able to sub Charles, Jim Miller being one of them.
That's true.
You know how to get that in there.
You did. But yeah, to Charles, let's move on to Charles Oliveira here. What are the chances that you would give him in? Let's say a rematch is going to happen. It doesn't even have to be the next fight, right? Let's say they're going to rematch in a year. Maybe Makhachev goes out there and he fights Volkanovski. And he beats Volkanovski, and then he's
which I think he does.
It. Okay, well, yeah, sure, we'll go with that anyway. It's another conversation for another time, right? But he gets the next shot. Maybe he wins on the way there. What chances do you give him? Let's say on a like 10%, 20%, 30% chance. What chance do you feel like? How many times out of 10 is Charles Oliveira beating Islam Makhachev?
I mean, I really don't want to count Charles out because I thought he had a real shot to win this fight.
I picked him, but I thought it was really close.
I'd say,
in my head, I picked him anyway.
Like we said, Islam, he's going to get better and better each fight, and it's tough. I'm going to go 2 out of 10, maybe 1 out of 5.
I'm going to say 3 out of 10.
Okay.
I think 3 out of 10 he could reasonably do it because I think he gets the right moment out there, maybe the right mindset goes out there and lands the right thing on the feet. Because I think his striking is better than he was able to show in this fight.
Yeah.
That's
the only way I can see Islam really losing at this point is GSP Sarah type style thing.
I don't think it's going to take like a Hail Mary type of thing. Just getting caught. That's the way. He just get caught with a strike that wobbles him or knocks him out. It's going to take a strike. I think he's going to have to hurt his feet. Yeah. You know what? Because actually, I'll ask you this too. We didn't put this on here, but I have a question for you. if you had to pick any of the current top lightweights, let's say anybody in the roughly top 10, top 5, top 10, you had to pick one person to go against Islam Makhachev and you think is your best chance of knocking him off, which is the fighter that you're picking out there, that you're trotting out there?
Well, this will allude to a little bit later of kind of, but I would pick Justin Gaethje.
Good choice, but I'll tell you who I would pick, and I think it surprised me even, but I've arrived at this, and I actually feel like I'll stand on this hill. Michael Chandler.
Okay, yeah, I figured that's where you would go.
Yeah,
good wrestlers who hit hard.
Yep,
that's like we have both the same train of thought.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
But I think it has less to do with Gaethje obviously hits hard, but like a lot of his game is like those kicks, right? If you throw those kicks, I think Islam's catching them and taking them down. Well, I don't want it to be that. And I think what you need is somebody who can really hit you hard more upstairs. Not that Gaethje can't do that, but that's why I think Chandler.
Well, yeah, another thing.
I don't even have I don't have the highest opinion of Michael Chandler in terms of the pecking order.
Yeah,
I just feel like he's the guy I'm sitting out there, and I'm like, I think he might be able to do it better than anybody else can, who's up there.
Here's the thing, Chandler, they have the blueprint pretty much of what Gaethje would do because he did it to Khabib, so they'll be prepared for those low kicks.
Sure.
So maybe Chandler is the better bet.
There you go. Do you have anything else you want to say about Charles Oliveira, or
no? I mean, I saw him taking his gloves off, and I thought, oh no, he's going to retire here. But I'm glad.
I didn't notice that because I have been, as I mentioned before, I'm now like I'm shook every time I see it. I'm like, oh, someone retiring? What's going on? What's going on? Obviously, he just was taking them off. I'm sure he'll continue to fight.
No, he said he'll be back. So.
Yeah. I don't think something like this is going to just shake him because he seems like he's got a lot more things he really wants to accomplish in the sport. And he's young. He's still young.
Which is crazy because he's been around for a decade.
He's been around for more than a decade. 12 years. 12 plus years since I was at his first fight in the UFC. But let's move to bantamweight here with Aljamain Sterling, who looked like a monster out there, dude. We'll get to TJ's situation in a second, but let's just isolate to Aljamain here. Rate his performance 1 to 10. Individual performance. 10?
10.
I would give it a 10. I think you can give it a 10. I think this was like...
He took no damage.
He did everything he had to do. And you know what really impressed me, dude, was when he took TJ down. And granted, TJ is, as we said, as we alluded to, and we'll get to a little more in a moment, he's compromised here, right? The shoulders popped out. But what Aljamain did, as opposed to his fight against Petr Yan, is he goes out there and rather than try to just get the back, see if he can sink in the choke, and because everything was about, does he get a 10-8, doesn't he get a 10-8? And I feel like Aljo downloaded a whole lot of data from the conversations that were being had about that. Whether, I'm not saying he listened to our podcast, but I have spoken to Aljo, and I've talked to him just a little bit about kind of this idea. I'm sure he's spoken to other people who've also given him this feedback, but I'll take 1% of the credit. Just literally 1%.
All right, good.
I'm just taking one. I probably don't deserve it, but I'm taking it anyway. But the fact that he went out there and he's like, well, I'm gonna just pound on him.
Yeah.
And what happens when he pounds on him throughout round 1? Unanimous 10-8.
Yes.
Unanimous 10-8, and no one's questioning it. It was a high level 10-8.
There was
textbook.
There was one strike in round 2, a similar situation. He's on top right before the finish. And he throws this elbow just to the side of the head of Dillashaw. I was like, wow, that was really mean. Like, that was mean.
But if he goes out there, and the fact that he can get those fights down, it's probably not going to be as easy because the next person's not going to have a dislocated shoulder at the time. But, he went out there and very quickly got him down, right? Yeah. And if he can start instinctively being like, well, now I'm just going to pound the crap out of him because I've got the positional control. I can do that. Now I'm just going to just lay it on him because that's how I'm going to rack up points. And look, he gets a finish, you know? And again, you have to account for that the man is compromised, and that leads to at least part of the openings that he's getting here. But when he has the openings, he is hammering TJ Dillashaw. Like, this was elite level and really impressive stuff. And if he's going to take his game in that direction and be able to do this to other opponents, he could be in for a really impressive reign. And he's going to make people forget kind of the weirdness that's happened in this early part. You can't deny how weird his first 3 championship fights have been. Like,
weird.
He wins on a DQ because of the knee thing. Okay, look, there's nothing. He didn't do anything wrong there. He just got kneed. Jan did the wrong thing, right?
There's the second.
There's the whatever. Yeah, whatever. People talk what they talk. But then the second fight, obviously, it was very close. we have already gone over the way we feel about that and how you can score that. And it's perfectly reasonable how you can get one way or the other. But then this fight, obviously, yeah, it's like he's going against somebody who, not that he knew it going in, but yeah, there's a guy who's apparently his shoulder just pops out every so often.
Yeah, he's
for the last 6 months.
Yeah, you beat up a one-arm guy.
Yeah. But you know what? Can we find? Is there any audio of T.J. Dillashaw saying I could beat you with one arm?
Is there?
Maybe there is. We could find some.
There might be.
Maybe there is. And if that's the case, then hey, look, the ground rules were already set. I don't think so, but you know what? You never know.
Yeah.
But no, it's if he can start doing this to let's say guys who have nothing, there's no excuses that his haters can make and all that kind of stuff. He's gonna have a really impressive run here. Right? Whether, although he's got to step up his trash talk. His canned trash talk is just terrible. Can we get that out there? It's really, really bad. And then I love that he was trying to like riff a little more. He was like, Sean O'Malley fought okay. It's like, where are you going with this one? Come on. I think he's a little bit better when he just kind of allows himself to talk rather than kind of can it, but it is what it is. Yeah, I would agree with you though. That's a 10. That's a 10 out of 10 performance for him. Not 11. We're not going to crank it up to 11. No. This is a 10.
Yep.
He didn't go above and beyond. It's just, I think he hit the top of the scale. But yeah, so on to T.J. Dillashaw, who again, we mentioned here, he is coming into this fight apparently to some people's knowledge. Sounds like Mark Goddard knew.
Yeah.
Which also, how does Mark Goddard know? And then seemingly a bunch of other people involved in the UFC production team seem to know this because they didn't mind that he's skipping embedded and all these other, things and stuff like that. He's not hitting pads. Like, how does this get by and him get licensed here when the UFC is acting as the commission here?
Well, I guess the thing is,
a little weird.
It was in at that point in time.
I guess in theory, but how are they okay with, like, he had to at some point have said, oh, this is why I can't do all these things, because I feel like the UFC would be like, nah, F that, you're doing it, because these guys have no control over their careers. I don't know. Maybe it's tinfoil hat a little bit, but it just seemed, it strains credulity to me that the UFC just, and whoever is acting as commission here had no clue that there was something amiss with this guy's shoulder.
Or maybe not to that extent.
I have no doubt. I have no doubt that maybe even Dana didn't even know, right? So he can honestly answer, like, I don't know, but like along the way, it feels like somebody knew and they're just like passed him on, which is a little strange to get medically cleared that way. Nonetheless, he goes out there and he's popping his shoulder back out. They're putting it back in. They're not doing the whole yanking it method though. They've learned it's better to massage it back in. Yeah. Which is kind of the way I try to teach my kids how to like get the Lego pieces apart. It's like you don't like try to break it. You got to kind of finesse it out a little bit, and then you can take it out. So everything's better with like softer hands here. But the question here: should T.J. Dillashaw have pulled out?
I think absolutely you should have pulled out. If your shoulder is coming out of the socket 20 plus times in camp, where the intensity is likely dialed down, especially these days. Where teams aren't even doing live sparring with shots to the head.
TJ's notoriously intense in training, though.
Okay, but fight intense?
I think that's what rubbed him wrong at several gyms in the past. I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
Then for sure it's going to pop out in the fight. I know we have some examples of fighters coming in injured and winning, like JDS knocking out Kane when he had the torn meniscus. But what we saw in the rematches, I kind of chalked that up to a bit of a fluke there. I say more often than not, it's not ending in triumph. You got Vitor's knee injury,
especially at the highest level. Yeah,
when Machida beat him. Nunez, the first fight with Pena, had 2 knee injuries apparently. Nate Diaz in the second Conor fight with a knee injury. Tito with the fractured skull.
That's true. That's true. He had a fractured skull.
Tends to not go in your favor with an injury.
Good shout.
So. Yeah, I think he should have pulled out 100%.
I think he should have too, but one thing that's kind of been brought up in the, let's say, the social media conversation is, did he need the money? Did he have a choice in the matter?
I didn't really think of that.
Because he's fought, before this fight, he had fought one time in the last, like, almost 4 years because of suspension, because of injury. Maybe he needed a paycheck.
Yeah, man.
And look, if he needs the paycheck, let's say it's you, and you need that paycheck, are you going to say, nah, I'm going to put it off? Or you'd be like, I need the money. What are you going to do?
Nah, I would fight.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate it. I like the Chael Sonnen thinking.
Sure.
You sign the contract to be there a certain date. You show up, you fight.
Mm-hmm.
I like that, but also maybe, if, like you said, I didn't even think of that. Maybe he did need the money, but that aside,
and we don't know that. We're
speculating.
This is speculation that we've seen.
I would imagine he probably
media,
didn't.
Makes a lot of sense.
I mean, I think he got some kind of sponsorship money.
I'm sure he got some money, but
as champ, he probably made a good amount.
But you live at a certain level, and he started a business and all these things. You just don't know.
Yeah.
You just don't know. So I certainly hope that he didn't need it. I mean, look, the man cheated, right? He paid his penance and everything like that. You don't necessarily have to respect that, but he's still a human being. He's got a family.
Yeah.
His kid is almost exactly the same age as my youngest son. So and it's actually his birthday is the same day as my wife's.
Oh wow.
So I feel like a certain connection to him in some way.
Gotcha.
Not like as a friend or anything like that. I've only spoken to the man 2 times, 3 times. But just the idea, he's a person, right? He's not, and I've spoken to these people anyway, so they're always people, but this is someone you're not necessarily rooting for terrible things to happen to his family.
No,
so
definitely not.
I hope that he didn't just need the money, but maybe he did.
Yeah.
But then I guess the other part of the question is, will he get another chance at the belt?
Maybe at some point. I mean, who knows how the shoulder? How bad is this damage has he done to his shoulder
or the rest of his body? He's had several injuries,
where his shoulder's popping out at just 20 times. That can't be good. I mean, does he need a reconstructive surgery? Who knows?
I think he'd already had the surgery, and that's part of the problem. It's done more damage to it is probably what happened here. I don't think he's going to get back. I think this was his last chance. I think this is his last best chance, and I think he's someone who, assuming he doesn't need the money, isn't going to stick around if he's not going to get back to that point. I don't think he's just going to retire off this one. I'm sure he's going to see, hey, can I get back there? But I don't see him being someone who, again, let's hope money is not the issue. I don't see him just taking fights. He's not going to go on a 6-fight losing streak, and then try to keep soldiering on. I bet
TJ lost again. His shoulder came out. Fight after fight.
Yeah.
That would be sad.
Aljo did say, when I interviewed Aljo in the lead up to this, and he alluded to the fact that, Dillashaw obviously used PEDs, right? And that when you're older, and he was kind of speaking as if he was speaking to Aljo when he was talking to me this, he's like, when you're older and when you're 50 and your body's way older than mine is, that's why, right? The breaking down of the body with all, the suspected performance enhancing drugs. Everyone says, there's always been the rumors about TJ that it started out at Team Alpha Male, went all over the place, and obviously got caught with EPO, and that's the only one we really know about. But if there were other things, if there was a habit of using this, that can break the body down.
Yeah, he's, I mean, I would.
You never know.
I would wish a couple other cheaters also lost today, but they didn't. But we'll move on.
Yeah, mind you, we're talking late Saturday after Game 3 of the Yankees. We don't know how Game 4 went as we're talking.
If the universe does the right thing,
it won't. It doesn't.
That team is owed a 3-0 collapse. So
I'm sorry.
I hope they do the right thing.
That is not how the world works, sir.
Well, I'm just hoping.
No, you can hope, but it won't happen for you. Last one before we get to a couple of little quick reads, and then we'll get to contested rounds. So I wanted to ask you about the other fight before this one. Sean O'Malley getting the win over Petr Yan.
Yep.
We will definitely be talking about that one. That's going to lead our contested rounds. But before we get to contested rounds, who do you think would have a better chance among these two men of beating Aljo in a future fight? Is it O'Malley or is it Yan?
I have to say Yan. He has 8.5 rounds of experience with him. There won't be much unknown. I think O'Malley would get worked over in the grappler. Aljo's a much better grappler than Yan, so while we did see some success from O'Malley in the takedown defense versus Yan, I don't think he'd be able to do that against Sterling. So
I think you're largely right. I definitely wouldn't rule out O'Malley being able to catch him with some sort of kick or something like that on the feet. Aljo likes to kick. He is a kicker, but yeah, O'Malley is pretty creative with that stuff, and he's so much bigger. He's just a big guy, so I wouldn't rule that out. But yeah, I think if I was you, if I was also being like, hey, we're trotting somebody out to beat him here of these two men, yeah, I'm picking Petr Yan too. Yeah. But having said that, I do think I really do see some really great things coming from Aljo here. I think he's trending in the right direction.
I hope so.
Instead of the wrong one as far as his career. Real quick, who should these winners fight next? Bilal Muhammad,
Gilbert Burns.
I like it. Yeah, I'm with it. Benil Dariush,
winner of Islam and Volkanovski, or Fiziev if he doesn't want to wait.
Yeah, I think Volkanovski. That would be good. Then the winner of that one, and then Manel Furor.
Grasso.
Yeah, that works.
because neither really impressed.
No, I don't think either one of them did enough to actually earn that. I'm sorry. No, my mistake. Manon Fiorot versus Caitlin Chookagian was one of the fights of the year. You missed it.
Sorry.
I'm sorry you missed it. It really was amazing, but you know what? Let's just give Manon Fiorot one more fight before we get there, and let's book Valentina Shevchenko against Amanda Nunes.
That's what I want to see.
All
yes.
right, there you go. Let's go to contested rounds, sir. We have 7 of them. A lot of decisions in this card.
Mm-hmm.
And there wasn't one first round finish, so every fight had a round to score. And yet we only ended up with 7 rounds to go. How many rounds were scored ultimately? Did you
I didn't tally yet.
You stink.
Yeah, I should have tallied that.
Yeah. Bad job by you. That's all right.
When we get it, we'll post it.
Yeah, we'll put it up later. Or maybe it'll be posted by the time we have this show live. But all 7 rounds came in different fights.
Mm-hmm.
We don't usually get that. Usually there's one fight that's got like 2 rounds in it, or sometimes all 3, or something like that. But yeah, we just got one at a time here. But we are going to start with, like I said before, Sean O'Malley, Petr Yan, split decision, 29-28 all around, except 2 of them going Sean O'Malley's way, 1 for Yan. Round 1 is our split round, as most of these are. Most of these are round 1. It's our split round here. So, Dan, what is happening in round 1 of this fight that makes the decider?
Yeah, very competitive first round here. Jan's landing good leg kicks. O'Malley's landing good front kicks to the body. Seemed like he was using it as a tool when you get a little too close to the fence, to create some space. Because Jan was the one pressing. O'Malley does land a few strikes to the head, some good punches there. Jan as well. It's a really close round. I do see a lot of O'Malley's punches being blocked. Jan gets some offense in the clinch. Maybe a couple knees. I'd score a bit higher than Storley knees. Gets the takedown. Pretty solid takedown, and lands a little bit of ground and pound. Very close round. I have no issue either way, but I'm 10-9 Jan.
This is a robbery. No, it's not a robbery. No, I went for Jan too. I had this one as a Jan round, but yeah, I noticed some what appeared to be some strikes being blocked here.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was kind of the same deal that a lot of the stuff from O'Malley that's coming back is either getting deflected or blocked in some way, and it's really not landing with as much impact or effect as it might appear to. We've had the benefit of watching this fight a couple times now. Mm-hmm. Judges live do not do that. They obviously have the difficulties which we talk about on the show all the time. They're in one spot. They do have the monitors, but I mean, you get the monitor, or you can look away and miss something for a second while you look up, right? Or maybe you have a bad angle. Maybe you just don't see it right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they do. Maybe they see it better than we do. That's the alternate. But it looked to me as I'm watching it, especially that second time, knowing what I know and being able to watch a little closer, yeah, a lot of this stuff looked like it's getting deflected. And I feel like it's close enough, absolutely close enough, that I think Jan doesn't land necessarily anything like monstrous here either. I thought the takedown had like at least a little bit of impact on it, so there was something there, but he doesn't really do much with it beyond that.
He landed a couple strikes.
It's
nothing great.
He's really not adding a whole lot to the effect of trying to work toward the finish of the fight, right? I didn't think it got to that level. But ultimately, the whole body of work, right? We're just body of work to body of work. I do think Jan had just a little bit more there, so I felt like I could also give it that way. So you and I saw it the same, right? For Jan,
yeah.
We give this round and the fight to Jan. Same as Vito Paolillo, but nobody else, because judges Ben Cartledge and David Leatherby had it for O'Malley.
Which is fine.
Yeah, fine. It's fine.
But
we had it for Judge Paolillo. And what does that mean for Judge Paolillo?
Couchside override.
We'll have to ship that one overseas to Judge Paolillo. And you know how it is, man. When we ship overseas, it definitely gets lost in the mail.
Yes,
it's
not 100% lost.
It's not getting anywhere. How did I start doing this whole mail thing?
I don't know.
I don't either. We're gonna keep it up. But that was it for that fight. Of course, like I said, every fight is just one round at a time here.
Mm-hmm.
But this was definitely the one that everybody was talking about. I think it's kind of crazy that everybody has to jump to. They didn't like the result, so they get all mad about it, and it's just like, oh, it's a robbery. Like, guys, I don't honestly. I'll be perfectly honest. I'm not really into the Sean O'Malley show. I'm really not into it. He kind of lost me with the whole like, why don't you try heroin?
Yeah,
that whole thing. It's like, what?
Yeah,
while he's holding his baby.
I mean,
dude, what are you doing?
At least, I mean, he's saying stupid stuff, but At least he's not doing stupid stuff. I
don't know.
Suppose.
I don't know that he's not doing stupid stuff.
But he's not John Jones out there.
Okay,
like stuff like
so
that.
far he has, to our knowledge, he has not gone out there and hit a pregnant woman with his car. I'll grant you that.
Yeah, like so. He does say a lot.
He
of
has
dumb
cleared the
things.
lowest of bars. Yeah,
So.
but like, I'm not saying he's a villain, but like, I'm just not into it. But the fact is, I'm not saying he couldn't have won that fight. It has nothing to do with it. It's just this is the way it is. I think it's a close round, and there's always people who are going to be like, oh, look at MMA decisions. All the media scores here have it for Jan. It's either 29-28 or 30-27, and I'm like, so what? I had it 29-28 for Jan. You had it 29-20 for him. Your score was on MMA decisions.
Yes, my score was on MMA.
But
decisions.
you totally understand why it can go the other way.
Oh yeah.
If you individually ask many of these people who have submitted their scores, I'll bet you a lot of them would be like, "Hey, that first round was pretty close." So there's no context for the way it is. Yes, no one actually went and gave that score and then submitted it, and it was posted to MMA decisions. That didn't happen. But that's not like the be all end all.
No.
It's a close fight. Is there maybe what the masses will consider the quote unquote better score here? Yeah, they're thinking that. You and I think that Jan is the better score. But we get it. We understand it. The way the criteria is worded, the way it works in a close round like this in particular, is it sometimes can just go either way.
You don't want close decisions. Put a stamp on it.
Absolutely.
So
there are way too many situations that, unfortunately, and I'm not saying there weren't reasons for it, but unfortunately, Petr Yan just wasn't able to hammer it home. He's got O'Malley clinched against the cage, but he's not feeling like he's in a good enough position to start like laying some like big knees in or something like that.
Instead of a knee to the head, he stomps the foot.
Yeah. I should have stomped the hand, by the way. I meant to say that. He should have stomped the hand. Dude, when you got feet there, it's like, oh, you stomp it. Oh, man, my toes. Stomp on his finger. Maybe you dislocate his finger or something like that. He's not fighting the same way anymore.
Yeah.
This was bad strategy. I say we need more foot-to-hand stomps.
Yeah.
When someone starts playing the touch the floor game, do that.
That's not you know what? That's not bad.
I've always said that I should be the MMA coach of the year.
But also learn from Aljo. Aljo learned from his mistakes.
Everybody learn from your mistakes. That's why I always tell my kids, learn from your mistakes, or especially learn from other people's.
For sure.
Way better to learn from other people's mistakes. I've lived by that. As best I can. Sometimes I learn from my own. I'm not going to make a mistake here except for how I talk, and we're going to move on to the next round. Apparently, I don't know how to talk either. We got to talk about this round too. I think this was a fight that I think a lot of people were talking about, right? Bilal Muhammad and Sean Brady.
Mm-hmm.
This fight ended in round 2, of course. Muhammad turned it up after a close first round, and he just took it to Sean Brady.
Mm-hmm. Suspect stoppage.
Yeah, At first, I thought it was an okay stoppage, and then I watched it again with you, and I'm like, gee, I don't know. Didn't feel great. But look, the referee sees what they see in there. I'm sure there's some reason, but it felt like it probably could have kept going. We see sequences like this in MMA fights where he's not really out of it.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably in a bad way, but oftentimes they're given enough rope.
Yeah.
And that didn't happen here, but it is what it is. I think I've seen worse. We're not talking about that, though. We got to talk about round 1 of this one, dude. Round 1 is the split round. So what is happening in this round?
It's a striking battle between two very good grapplers. Brady countered really well.
That's very dismissive. That's not a nice thing to say.
He countered very well.
Okay.
Brady seems to be getting the cleaner shots, better reactions from Muhammad. He lands a couple left hooks that kind of really stop Muhammad in his tracks, and a couple hard right hands that they were saying, well, how's he standing after that? Bilal stays in his face. He's not really getting backed off too much. He's returning fire, lands a couple of good shots of his own, a couple of good combos. I think I made a mistake because live I scored this from Muhammad. I think he steals it at the end. The final 10 seconds, he has a good sequence of offense, lands a nice combo. I thought that put it over for him. I don't feel that strongly about that anymore. I feel better about this round being for Brady 10-9. But live, when I was watching, I did score for Muhammad 10-9.
Interesting. You learned from your mistakes. All comes together. Yeah, I had it. I also have this one for Brady. When I watched it live, I did think it was close, certainly. But I did think that this was a much better round for Brady on the whole. Defensible scores, of course. Either way, it is two grapplers exchanging punches, but I thought it was a decent, like, it's not like kind of that. It's not like it's like Damian Maia going against, not to be dismissive of Damian Maia, but like he became a competent striker, I think is the kindest thing we could ever say about his striking level. And I think Muhammad and Brady are showing better than that in this round.
I think Bilal Muhammad's just a really, really good game planner.
I think he is. He really is. He's disciplined.
Mm-hmm.
He's obviously technically skilled.
Yes.
And I think he's got some athleticism too. Mm-hmm. That certainly helps, and I think it helps him be able to adjust on the fly too. I think you need to be able to be at least a little bit of an athlete to be able to adjust like that.
Yeah.
So I think he put on a nice effort here. But yeah, I had this one for Brady. I never saw Muhammad get over the point with like any like particular. I mean, he has some moments, right?
Mm-hmm.
He has some moments, but I think Brady just has a few more.
Yeah, you know what I think? Watching live, the swelling under Brady's eye, I was like, oh, that's some good damage there.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of probably swayed me.
But it's under the eye. So, I mean, it's physical damage. It's immediate impact. But like, I thought ultimately the punches that were being, it was mostly punches, right? The punches that were being landed.
Bilal was throwing some leg kicks.
Sure. So, but I guess I'm speaking particularly about Brady. I think his
yeah.
I think his punches were what ultimately did the higher impact toward trying to get to the end of the fight, right?
Yeah.
The greater effect toward getting to the end of the fight. So that's why I went for Brady here. So we were again united on this one. Same with.
I'm kind of half and half.
You're half and half.
Well, I switched my score.
Yeah.
So you still get one?
Yeah, that's how it works, dude.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That's fair.
What are you gonna try? Are you trying to take something away from Anders Olsen?
I'm not taking nothing. No.
Don't you do that, because we got to send this out in the mail.
Yeah.
And what are we sending out?
Couchside override.
Because we disagreed, the three of us, you, me, and Anders, with Ben Cartledge and Dow Ransom. We're obviously not on the same page with Judge Cartledge on this night.
That's okay.
That's already two we've gone against them.
But we've only done 2 rounds.
Mm-hmm. Now, either that says that he was a terrible judge or that we're a terrible judge.
That's how it works.
That's the only way it works. It's the only way, because it's robbery or it's a good decision. So we do everything in absolutes here. That's the only sane way to do anything. Judge Cartledge is obviously a stellar judge. Let's move on to let's do Nikita Krylov.
Okay.
Krylov. I always say it wrong the first time. Nikita Krylov getting the win over Volkan Ozdemir. This was a unanimous decision. No question about who won the fight, but it was the question about round 1 once again. 30-27 and then 2 29-28. So what happens in round 1?
No, this is a wild round. Ozdemir,
little bit. Yeah.
Ozdemir comes out and he's landing some big shots, has Krylov wobbled in the first minute. Then Krylov's able to get a clinch and able to slow things down for a bit. About halfway, Krylov rocks Ozdemir and drops him briefly and ends up running up on him, clinches him, and it gets a weird takedown straight to the back. It's like Ozdemir just sat down and was like, yeah, put the hooks in. I'm begging you to do that. And then Krylov attacks a pretty solid rear naked choke here. Ozdemir defends it well, and eventually it becomes a side naked choke, and eventually just a head hug.
That's a front naked choke.
Oh, Ozdemir escapes. End up, he's standing above Krylov at this point. Krylov on his back, and he lands some decent shots from the top and falls back on top of him. In side control for a little bit. I think the success at the end makes me feel pretty good about going 10-9 Ozdemir, but again, very close.
Yeah, it is tough because obviously Ozdemir has his big moments are kind of sandwiched at the he's the bread, right?
Yeah.
In this round, he's the bread.
Yes.
And then in the middle of that, which is all the yummy stuff. Not that I don't love bread, I certainly do. I'm Italian. I like my Italian bread, but in the middle, it's all the meat and all the cheese and everything like that. That's coming from Krylov here.
Yeah.
I liked what he was able to do to come back there. I thought the choke was a really good attempt. I thought you have to really give that a lot of attention. And then I also, again, I think he hurts him pretty well throughout the round. Like not crazy throughout the round, but because obviously he's doing a lot of grabbing on and holding on and trying to get his positions and everything like that. But he is landing heavy enough. It's close. It's close. I think you can make the argument either way, and I don't have a problem with it. So I didn't see it your way. I give it to Krylov.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. I saw it the same way as David Leatherby. I think he did a bang-up job on this one. And I thought Anders Olsen and Vito Pello did a terrible job in this one. So did you.
Oh, thank you.
It's everything's terrible or great, you know. No, this was very close, but ultimately, again, it doesn't matter. Krylov takes over and takes all doubt out of it and makes it easy. No harm done. We should move on to this. This was one that I think you saw. You pointed this out because you said the betting community, the MMA betting community, got all up in arms about this, or at least somebody. Yeah, they're the worst. First off,
they're horrible.
The MMA betting community is absolutely the driver of the terrible conversations about judging. There are certain bad actors out there that I don't appreciate getting involved in there. It's not just them. There's other people too, but yeah, a lot of this stuff comes from the MMA betting community, and if they would just kind of educate themselves a little better.
I mean, there's a few out there that
absolutely
are very level-headed.
I think so, 100%. But there's a lot of people who can't recognize, oh, maybe I'm pissed because I lost.
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, not everybody too. Some people are like, come on, that was bad, even though I won. I get that, but I don't know. Anyway, the fight in particular is Caio Borralho getting the win over Makhmud Muradov. Unanimous decision once again. There's no splits on here anymore. We're just talking about unanimous or finishes. 30-27 twice and a 29-28. So we're only talking about one round in particular, round 2 in this case, where they diverged from the winner. What do you think of this one, round 2? What happened?
Yeah, well, the round starts and nothing really happens for a little while until Muradov leaves his neck out and Borralho grabs it and locks up the guillotine. And it's a really good attack here. But Muradov able to roll out, and Borralho ends up in top mount in a scramble, and he doesn't do anything from top mount, really. Yeah. He's kind of just there. Muradov escapes, reverses, gets on top, and he doesn't really do a lot right here. Kind of just lays on top of him, a couple strikes here and there, and then right at the end of the round, Borralho locks in another guillotine. Nothing too great, but that's how the round ends. 10-9 Borralho. There's just not a whole lot of effective offense.
Not a fun round. Not a fun fight, to be perfectly honest, especially after round 1. I think round 2 and round 3 are where it just kind of like gets dreary from an entertainment standpoint. I had it the same way as you. I don't really have anything to add to it other than that I saw it your way. Same way as the majority judges. Again, this is Junichiro Kamijo and Vito Palillo. Clemens Werner was on his own. Or Clemens Warner, right?
According to, Bruce.
Yeah. Oh, buff. Never change, because you're not going to anyway. Yeah, Clemens Werner had this one for Muradov. Not enough happens in this round. Whatever. You got to do something. Give them something to score. So I don't have a big problem with this one.
Yeah, definitely not a round to get mad at.
No, certainly not. Let's move on, because we only got a couple more here. Let's move to Beneil Dariush, the last one in the main event, over Mateusz Gamrot. What were the final scores here? We neglected to put them on our little outline. What was the final scores on this one?
Oh, it was I believe 2 30-27s and 1 29-28.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I can do the math there. That makes sense. That does make more sense based on what I'm looking at right here. So, yeah, round 1. What happens here?
Close round, lot of action, a lot of scrambling. Just don't think it's all that effective offense from either side, really. Dariush had a solid low kick early. Got a really good reaction from Mateusz. Like, he's like, oh, well, that kind of hurt. He popped his cauliflower ear early. There's blood leaking out the side of his head.
Yummy.
On the ground, when he was taken down by Gamrot, he attacked the legs. I mean, nothing was really close there, but I think it was better than Gamrot's just scrambling, pretty much, trying to get to a position. Gamrot did land a couple strikes. I'm not going to say he didn't. Nothing great. It's kind of a close round. I don't feel too strongly about it either way, but I'm on 10-9 Dariush.
I'm also on 10-9 Dariush. It's, not a round that kind of gets a whole lot of rise out of me as far as feeling too strongly about it. Judges Junichiro Kamijo and Daryl Ransom were on the same page as you and I. And the terrible Clemens Werner once again, all by himself. Horrible judges, horrible robbery. Anyway, no, I'm not worked up about this one, but we didn't see it the same way as the outjudge in this case. But we do have 2 more rounds to do?
Yeah, 2 more.
2 more. Yeah, let's move back down into the prelims. Abubakar Nurmagomedov getting the win over Omar Gadriev. Did I nail that?
Yeah, it's a mouthful.
Did I nail that?
Mm-hmm.
I tried to copy Anik there. I think I did. I hope I copied it. If Anik's right, I think I'm right.
You got to find the hidden R. I think that's the key to pronouncing the last
Yeah,
name.
because I heard Anik saying there's some sort of R there. I'm just copying Anik. I don't see an R here, but if he did it,
I trust the man.
I trust John Anik, right? He works hard at this job. But yeah, he gets the win over Omar Gadriev. Who? What did I say? His nickname should be Egads, right? Egads, yeah. I don't know. It's a terrible nickname, but it's better than saying Omar Gadriev every time because that is a mouthful.
Actually, in my notes, Google Docs wanted me to autocorrect it to Omar Gadriev.
Oh.
2 names.
Okay. Did you mean this? No. Obviously, you've never been to Russia. Unanimous decision win for Nurmagomedov. Shocker. Nurmagomedov winning a fight. 30-27 and 229-28. It's round 1 once again. What happened here?
Yeah, it starts out, Nurmagomedov lands a decent leg kick, and then on a takedown attempt, Omar Gadriev grabs the neck, completely shuts down the takedown attempt, and lands 3 solid knees to the head while holding him in a headlock. Omar Gadriev gets a takedown as the round proceeds on, and Nurmagomedov scrambles, gets on top, but is again stuck in a guillotine. Not too tight. He does escape and ends up on top, but doesn't really do much at all from that position. Omar Gadriev lands a couple decent strikes from the bottom. Really nothing else happens in this round other than that. So 10-9 Omar Gadriev.
Yep, same here. Nothing to add. Makes it easy for me not to say the names all in overtime. But we were on the same page with judges Ben Cartledge. Hey, this time we were on his page. Yeah, one of the best judges. And Vito Palillo, who already got his couchside override. Mm-hmm. We were not on the same page as Anders Olsen, who is a terrible judge, and he's had his couchside override revoked.
Oh, this poor guy.
No, I'm just kidding. No, he's honestly, if you look at the data like I've been tracking, he's one of the most in the majority as well. Judge Olsen.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Lot of good, like, on the same page judging coming out of the European guys that the UFC ends up using when they go to Abu Dhabi.
Oh yeah.
That's not the be-all, end-all. That doesn't tell you a judge is good or bad, but it can certainly reinforce how much they end up seeing it in the same way as other people. So that's a good thing. Can't be a bad thing, I would think. But we have one more round.
Yes.
This was in the curtain jerk. It was actually the first round we had of the entire card. When I was still coaching soccer at this point, I was at a soccer game for my little guy. And Carol Hossa, got the win over Lena Landsberg. This was a majority decision. So, yeah, it wasn't a split, but it was a majority because of the lost point in round 2 for an illegal knee. The win was 29-27 twice and a 28-28. We're talking about round 1 here, sir. What happened?
Well, I'll start off with saying that there was no commentary.
Okay.
In this round.
That's true. That was wild.
By the way. Someone must have forgot to plug their microphones in. So we got all the arena sound minus the commentators.
Well, it was more like the arena sounds than the in-cage noises, like they were sort of doing a little more of during the height of the pandemic, which was that was like the thing I was a little disappointed about. I was actually glad to get like a round where you could listen to the sound but not have the commentary over it. That's like that sweet spot that I want when I rewatch these fights, and you just can't get it. But yeah, they didn't have the in-cage noises as much as I would have liked.
Fight Pass used to have it.
I know. They said, "Hey, we've got this great product. Let's make it worse. Let's see if we can make it like really crummy, and also give it a really terrible search function." And I think they've done just an amazing job of that. So I'm going to give it a little bit of a clap.
Yeah.
Good job. So round 1, what's happening?
Yeah, not much. Landsberg lands a big right hand and drops Hossa. And I think this was a good knock. She doesn't brace her fall. She just sits down. So I do think it was a pretty solid knockdown.
She bounces back quick enough.
She recovers quickly, but I'm saying when she got hit, she's not going back and bracing her fall. She's just hitting.
Sure.
So
Good strike.
Yeah. They clinch for a bit, and Landsberg, I think she's winning the clinch battle. Not by much, but I think her knees are a little bit better than what Hossa is throwing. But then Hossa takes her down. And she has her in half guard, and she's kind of just hanging out there. She's not trying to pass. She's not striking. I think she lands one good left hand that I can recall. But Landsberg's not even trying to get up. She's just like, yeah, I'm just going to hang out here. And Hossa's not taking advantage of it. She's not trying to pass, like I said. I think Landsberg does land some decent strikes from the bottom, And I'm on 10-9 Landsberg.
Yeah, I am too. And honestly, and in all seriousness, again, all these judges are sound judges. I don't criticize them in any particular way. But I'm having trouble figuring out what it is that Hossa did that was distinctly better than Landsberg in this particular round. I think Landsberg's got a lot. She's in the top position, right? Hossa's in the top position, but she's really not landing a whole lot. She's in a, let's say an advanced position, right? She's not just sitting in full guard.
No, but she landed in half guard and just stayed there.
Yeah, I don't see advancement. I don't think she's actually like working to effectively create offense. So I'm curious about that. I mean, obviously 2 judges who I think are solid judges in Ben Cartledge and Daryl Ransom had this round for Hossa, but I'd be curious to have it explained. I had trouble figuring it out, right? This felt like a round that ought to be a Landsberg round.
That's how I see it. I mean, there's no offense from Hossa that's contributing to the end of the fight.
I don't think so, but again,
that's how I see it.
If there's something I'm missing, I would love to know. But yeah, I saw it for Landsberg. You saw it for Landsberg. We saw it the same way as David Leatherby. And by the way, I like to call this group here Cartledge, Ransom, and Leatherby. This is the Cage Warriors crew.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the Cage Warriors crew. But yeah, we saw it only the same way as Judge Leatherby. What does that mean for Judge Leatherby?
Couchside over.
That's heading right to jolly old England. It's definitely gonna be in the mail. Maybe. It's always the mail's fault. But that's it. That's our 7 rounds. I think we had a good amount to say about these things. This was a good little package of contested rounds.
Yep.
Finish wise, like I said, there were 4. None of them ended in the first round. 2 sub, 2 by KO or TKO. Which of these 4 was your favorite?
Muhammad Makhachev subbing Malcolm Gordon with a slick armbar. He was on the back. He found himself kind of falling off, grabbed the arm, extended it. Seemed like he may have extended it a bit further than Malcolm Gordon would have liked. Seems his arm was a bit injured, but yeah, that's it. What about you?
The champion has a name, and that name is Islam Makhachev.
That was awesome too.
Yeah. Obviously, he counters as Oliveira is getting a little too overextended with kind of flying in the air here. Counters with his really hard right hand, drops him. You can tell he's not in there, and then he locks in that arm triangle like very quickly. Gets out of the half guard off to the side. It's like Charles knows he's got.
Once he dropped down, it seemed like he was in the arm triangle instantly.
Mm-hmm.
It was really quick. It
definitely highlights, and this was something I would love to credit who it was that kind of gave me at least the nugget of thought. Right, Sambo. It really is kind of that good hybrid of jiu-jitsu and wrestling.
Yeah.
When it's done at a high level and integrated into MMA, the way it is done. With let's say that Father's Plan crew, it's really impressive. They do and Makhachev in particular. He is looking for those submissions, and I think a different way than Khabib ever did, and he's able to get those finishes. Not that Khabib probably couldn't have done it. I think he just liked to smash, right?
Just smash.
And I get it. It's fun to smash.
You know what? I want to point this out real quick.
Yeah.
Back to the very first topic.
All right.
About his long run. All his fights going forward are 5 rounds now, and I think it's going to be a nightmare for people if they don't get him out of there in the first.
Oh, God, yeah. I had that thought, too, about Oliveira. I'm like, if he gets down in this fight, what's he going to be capable of?
Yeah.
There are guys who have the cardio to hang, I'm sure. But first of all, Michael Chandler does not. I do not believe in that man going 5 hard rounds with this guy.
Well, okay, with Makhachev may be different. Yeah.
I'm talking about this guy. I'm not talking about in general. I'm talking about this is the man we're talking about here. So if Chandler's winning, I'm telling him listen, dude, you're not saving anything in the tank. You got 7 minutes. You have 7 minutes to get this done. You've got the Rumble Johnson window. You're gonna go hard for 7 minutes, and if you get that finish in there, it's over. If you don't, first thing that he gets to it, just tap. It's over. It's over. Let's fight another day. But yeah, that is it for UFC 280. I think I don't even think I said that we were talking about UFC 280 at any point in this show.
Yes, UFC 280.
This was all about UFC 280, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. It says it in the program name, but we might as well vocalize it, right? We are now looking ahead, though, to the upcoming 2-event slate. It's both of them on Saturday, next Saturday.
Big Saturday.
Bellator is the early one this time because they're in Italy, Milan. It's there's a card happening.
There's some fights.
It's not let's say it's not the most well-built card. going on here.
All right.
But the headliner here is Adam Piccolotti and Mansur Barnaoui.
Okay.
Barnaoui, I think I'm always gonna say it wrong, but yeah, lightweights. I don't know how much you know about these guys.
That's the first I'm hearing of them.
Piccolotti's pretty good.
Okay.
I'm not as familiar with Barnaoui. I think it's gonna be a solid fight. I think.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, shoot, Bellator's got to break the 50-45 curse at some point.
Let's see.
Or not that I don't think the last one was exactly 50-45s, but hopefully they just get something where it's like a fun fight.
Okay.
Just be fun, please,
All right.
please. I mean, for Bellator's sake, shoot. But we'll see.
We will see.
At least it's the daytime, like I said, so you can kind of watch it and then watch UFC, or maybe I don't know if they're taking place concurrently, but it's not going to interact with the UFC main event, which I think is much more interesting. The card gets deeper with UFC, but there is one other fight on the Bellator slate that I'm looking forward to, and that's Fabian Edwards against Charlie Ward. Fabian Edwards, of course, the brother of welterweight champion Leon Edwards in the UFC. And he's coming off a win over Lyoto Machida. Win here over Charlie Ward, that could get him potentially a title shot over there in Bellator.
Is Mousasi the champ there?
No, he just lost.
That's right. Who do you lose to?
Johnny Eblen.
All right.
He's honestly, I like him. He's an interesting fighter.
Okay.
He's young. He's coming up. I think that would be a fun fight if Edwards was able to beat Charlie Ward. And Charlie Ward is a solid fighter in his own right. One of Connor's guys.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a fun one. That's about it. It's a very deep card. I think I didn't look deep into it, but there's a lot of guys with, let's say, not as many fights on their record. It could be a lot of like regional fights and stuff like that. I just don't know why. I'm sure it has to do with some sort of agreement locally. I don't know. That is often the Bellator MO, but it's been less so lately, right? Judges will probably be the typical guys we see Bellator bring in from kind of their Mohegan commission roots. There'll probably be a lot of guys coming from overseas in the United States, overseas for Italy, of course. Maybe we'll see some of those English judges like Ben Cartledge or somebody like that come over as well.
I feel Sal D'Amato gets to do a lot of Bellator international cards.
Well, I think Sal D'Amato is actually from Italy. I think he grew up here.
Oh, okay.
But his family is from Italy. He's got a lot of family there, if I understand right.
Okay.
So yeah, Salvatore D'Amato or D'Amato. Sorry. My bad. Sorry, Bruce.
D'Amato.
It's D'Amato. I always rag on Buff, but come on. Get the judges' names right. But yeah, that's it for Bellator. There is... I like this Vegas card for UFC, though, which is happening in the evening. Calvin Kattar and Arnold Allen at featherweight in the main event.
This is a good card.
It's a good card. This is a good fight night card. This is what I want. Not a great one, a good one. I think it's a solidly good one. I really like the main event, though. This is a really good main event. Calvin Kattar and Arnold Allen is terrific.
That's going to be fun.
This is definitely one of my favorite main events of the year outside of a pay-per-view. Any non-UFC pay-per-view card. Take those 12 out. This is one of my favorites of the whole year on paper. I think it's going to be a really fun fight. Allen deserves this chance, too. He's been kind of getting like a very slow build up to this point, and I think he probably should have been challenged a little earlier. But I think there have been some kind of fights that have fallen apart. He's got a 9-fight winning streak.
Yes, he does.
They said that was the third. Yeah. It's tied for the third longest active streak in the UFC behind. It's Islam has 11, and then who's at 12? It's Volkanovski.
In Volk, yeah. Those two,
which is wild.
They're gonna fight.
But this is a fun fight. Kattar obviously didn't get the win last time, but we kind of think it might have been the better score.
Yeah.
Especially because there was that one round.
Yeah, it was Josh Emmett ended up getting that win.
He did. You can get there, which we talked about in that episode. But yeah, round 4 definitely should have been his. And if it was, he actually would have gotten the win. So it's one of those tough situations that, no, he wasn't robbed, but that round kind of ended up working out as robbing him in a way. And yeah, it's tough. So, but anyway, hopefully judges won't be necessary here and someone will get a finish. We'll see. It's Nevada judges. I think it's going to be really good as opposed to when we were in Texas for that one. Not that we didn't have judges that also work in Nevada for that fight too, but I think you're better off fighting in Nevada than Texas in general. Like always.
Yeah, I mean, if he fights, I think it's going to be a crazy fight.
I think it's going to be a fun one.
So
I like a lot of these fights too. I like Marco Madsen. It's Mark O. Madsen, but also it could be Marco Madsen or Mark O. Madsen, like he's Irish.
There's a lot of ways to do it.
Yes. I just like there's a lot of ways you can express it. Marco Madsen going against Grant Dawson. This is a good fight too. This was a last minute kind of deal because it was supposed to be. I forget if it was Madsen against Drakkar Klose or if it was Grant Dawson against Drakkar Klose. I think Dawson stepped in.
Okay.
I think so.
Okay.
Doesn't matter. We have the fight we have now.
Yes.
I do like this fight too at 155. Dawson's heading places too. He's an interesting guy, and everybody loves Marco Madsen. At least in Denmark, they sure do, right? He's one of their own. I like a few more too, man. I like Dustin Jacoby and Khalil Roundtree.
That should be fun.
That's fun at 205.
Two big heavy hitters there.
Jacoby's usually fighting in New York. He's not fighting in New York this time. He's so close too, just a few weeks away. Phil Haas.
Yeah,
Bergen County guy.
Yeah, Delidze just beat Kyle Dawkins.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy knee to the face.
And Max Griffin and Tim Means. Tim Means is always.
You
fun.
Always like Tim. That's actually the co-main.
Yes. Well, it's listed as the co-main right now. I think
that might change.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's Marco Madsen. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
You know how they always have to say Mark O. Madsen, by the way? They say the whole thing.
Right.
Just say Madsen. And now I'm doing it because they do it. Mark, maybe it's not. Maybe it's just one word, Marco Madsen. I didn't think about that possibility. Yeah, his name's Marco Madsen. No spaces. It's just one word. But I like that fight too. And then Chase Hooper.
Yeah, you gotta love Chase Hooper.
Every time Chase Hooper's on the card, it's fascinating to me. And he's going against Steve Garcia here. I like this fight. These are really good fights.
Also, Andrei Arlovsky's on this card. In case you were wondering.
It's worth mentioning. He is on the card. Marco Sergio de Lima, right?
Yep.
Adds another one to the
Timeless
books.
wonder.
The guy is still sticking around. I'm going to be perfectly honest. His fight is probably not going to be that interesting. I don't think it will be. I'm happy to be wrong. Having said that, I hope I will it into existence, getting the opposite result.
Okay.
But yeah, at this point, a lot of his fights just don't end up playing out very well.
And former guest of the show is actually on the card.
Yes, Cody Durden.
So
he's going. Who's his opponent again? I forget.
Cledson Rodriguez.
Cledson Rodriguez. Yeah. That's
Cledson.
right.
I don't know how to say.
I think it's Cledson.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. Good card. Really good card overall. Looking forward to this.
Yeah,
one.
This is going to be one of those I think that we end up loving.
No, it's going to be one that disappoints us because every time we like them, they disappoint. Just like this last one, which I thought was fine. I
like this card.
I thought it was fine. I also didn't get my hopes as high as other people did. I think it kind of aligned with my hopes. I mean, and honestly, like those 6 fights at the end were the ones that people were most looking forward to. And 4 of them, I think, really delivered. 2 of them most definitely didn't. But I think they were also, let's say, 2 of the 3 most predictable ones to end up going that way.
Okay.
So, not that surprising.
All right, that does it again for another episode of the Couchside Judges. We'll be back again Monday. We're going to be breaking down what goes down on Saturday.
Absolutely. I think we'll probably be focused on the UFC.
Mostly.
I think I'm going to be hard pressed to get you to watch that Bellator card, aren't I?
Well, here's the thing. It's game 2 of the World Series. I'm hoping I'll be in attendance.
Well, for my sake, I hope I'm at a Halloween party that day.
Enjoy.
See you later, everybody. Have a great week.
Thanks for listening.